Picture this. It's Sunday night. Your direct deposit is supposed to hit by midnight. Rent is due in 48 hours. Your car starts making that sound again. Then your phone lights up with the message nobody thinks is coming for them. We need to talk Monday morning. In that one moment, your entire financial life gets exposed. Not your salary, not your job title, not your fake confidence on social media. Your system. Because if one paycheck disappears and everything shakes, then you were never financially secure. You were financially rented. And a lot of people don't realize that until life sends the invoice. That's why passive income matters. Not because it sounds sexy. Not because some guy on the internet promised money while you sleep. But because when your main income gets hit, you need something else still breathing in the background, something still dripping in, something you own, even if it starts small. And if you're starting from zero, the good news is this. You do not need to be rich to begin building passive income, but you do need to stop thinking about it the way broke people usually do. Because passive income from scratch is not a magic trick. It's a construction project. And if you do it right, the next 180 days can change the way money enters your life forever. But here's the real problem. Most people think passive income starts with a big lump of money, a rental property, or some perfect business idea. So they wait. They tell themselves they'll do it when they make more, when work calms down, when the market feels safer, when they know enough. And that delay is expensive, because the people who eventually build real passive income usually do not start with abundance. They start with discomfort. They get tired of how fragile a one-income life feels. They get tired of realizing that one emergency can wipe out 6 months of progress. They get tired of knowing they work hard, but nothing pays them unless they show up. So they stop chasing shortcuts and they start building assets. That word matters. Assets. Not hustle for the sake of hustle. Not random side gigs. Not 10 streams of confusion. Assets. An asset is something that can keep producing value after the initial work is done. Sometimes that asset is capital. Sometimes it's content. Sometimes it's a digital product. Sometimes it's a system. But the goal is always the same. Do the work once, or automate it once, and get paid more than once. Now this matters because the average household is not nearly as shockproof as it looks. In the Federal Reserve's 2024 survey, only 63% of adults said they could cover a $400 emergency expense using cash or its equivalent. 13% said they would not be able to cover it by any means, and 30% said they could not cover 3 months of expenses if they lost their main source of income. That is not a fringe problem. That is a system-wide warning light. Federal Reserve. At the same time, the U.S. personal saving rate was just 3.6% in March 2026. In plain English, a lot of money comes in and very little stays. Bureau of Economic Analysis. And here's what history shows. In April 2020, U.S. unemployment hit 14.7%, and payroll employment fell by 20.5 million jobs in a single month. That's how fast stable can become unstable. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. Even now, millions of people are hedging their lives with extra work. In 2025, about 8.8 million Americans were multiple job holders, around 5.4% of employed people. That tells you something important. People are already trying to build backup income. The question is whether they're building income that requires constant labor or income that can keep paying after the labor slows down. U.S. Bureau of Labor Statistics. So let's get honest. If you are truly starting from scratch, your goal in 180 days is not to retire early. It is not to replace your full salary. It is not to build $10,000 a month from a phone and a dream. Your goal is more powerful than that. Your goal is to build the first machine. A machine that proves money can come in from something other than your job. Because once that happens, your brain changes. Your decisions change. Your tolerance for bad jobs changes. Your confidence changes. And most importantly, your options change. So here is the framework. For the next 180 days, you are going to build passive income in layers. Not all at once, not with fantasy, with structure. The first layer is days 1 through 30, and this is where most people get it wrong. They want passive income before they build passive income fuel. If your checking account is chaotic, your bills are late, your subscriptions are leaking cash, and every surprise sends you to a credit card, then you do not have a passive income problem yet. You have a cash control problem. That sounds harsh, but it's liberating, because it means the first step is not complicated. It's just uncomfortable. In the first 30 days, your mission is to create seed capital and breathing room. That means you go line by line through every recurring expense. Not vaguely, brutally. Streaming services, delivery apps, random memberships, buy now, pay later leftovers, anything that pulls money from you without building your future. If it doesn't protect your life, grow your income, or buy your time back, it becomes suspect. Then you set a non-negotiable automatic transfer into a separate account every payday, even if it's small, especially if it's small. And yes, if you need to, you sell things. That old phone, the camera gear you don't use, the designer stuff sitting in a closet like dead inventory, the furniture collecting dust. This is not failure. This is conversion. You are turning trapped value into seed capital. Because the first real passive income asset most beginners need is not a stock. It's a cash buffer. A lot of people hate hearing that because it sounds boring. But boring is exactly what your nervous system needs. When you have even a small emergency buffer, you stop making desperate decisions. You stop pulling money out of investments too early. You stop saying yes to bad deals because rent is breathing on your neck. Security increases intelligence. Panic destroys it. So if all you do in the first month is build your first $1,000 of seed capital and automate a saving habit, you are not behind. You are laying the track. Then comes layer 2, days 31 through 60. This is where you build your first true passive income stream, even if it starts embarrassingly small. And I want to be very clear here. Do not confuse small with meaningless. Your first passive income stream should be low drama, low friction, and easy to automate. For most people, that means parking cash in a place where it can earn without constant babysitting. A high-yield savings account, a money market fund, or short-term treasuries can all serve the same beginner purpose. They teach you that idle cash is expensive and positioned cash gets paid. Will this make you rich in 60 days? No. That is exactly why it works. Because it kills the fantasy that passive income is supposed to arrive like a lottery ticket. It trains you to respect basis points, systems, automation, and consistency. It gives you your first proof of concept. And that proof matters. When you see the first dollars of interest hit your account, something important happens. The number may be tiny, but the identity shift is massive. You are no longer someone who only earns by working hours. You are someone who owns something that produces. That is a different life trajectory. And this is where most people get it wrong. They get bored with the small beginning, so they skip into risk. They start hunting giant dividend yields they don't understand. They buy into sketchy real estate schemes with no reserves. They call anything cash flow as long as it pays today, even if it destroys capital tomorrow. That is not passive income. That is impatience wearing a suit. If you're building from scratch, your first passive stream must do one thing above all else: survive. Because survival is what lets compounding happen. The SEC's investor education materials describe compounding as earning on your original money and on the earnings that money already produced. That sounds simple, but it is the whole game. Time only helps money that stays alive. secinvestor.gov. That takes us to layer 3, days 61 through 90. Now you start buying ownership. This is the phase where you move beyond pure cash yield and begin building a stream tied to productive assets. For most beginners, that means broad, diversified investing on autopilot rather than trying to outsmart the market with random stock picks. The reason is simple. You are not trying to look smart in the next 90 days. You are trying to become durable over the next 10 years. The IRS recognizes common forms of investment income like interest, dividends, capital gains, and mutual fund distributions. That matters because it reminds you that passive income does not have to begin with a rental property or a business empire. It can begin with owned capital producing returns while you live your life. IRS. Now, there's a trap here. A lot of people hear passive income and immediately become obsessed with dividends. They want cash every month, right now, visible and satisfying. But if you are starting from zero, chasing yield too early can actually slow you down. High yields often hide weak businesses, debt stress, or limited growth. Sometimes the safer move is not the asset with the loudest payout. It's the asset with the strongest long-term engine. So here's the practical move. Set up automatic investing into a low-cost, diversified fund or funds that give you broad ownership exposure. Reinvest distributions. Keep contributing. Keep it boring. Boring wins because boring survives your moods. At this point, some viewers are thinking, okay, but if I only have a few $100s, this still won't create meaningful monthly income. Correct. And that's why Layer 4 is the most important part of the whole 180-day plan. This is where you stop relying only on capital and start building an asset out of skill. Because if you start from scratch, capital-based passive income alone is too slow in the beginning. That's not pessimism. That's math.
If you have $1 million, passive income behaves one way. If you have $1,000, it behaves another way. So beginners need a bridge. And that bridge is a small digital asset. Days 91 through 120 are for creating one thing that can sell repeatedly without being rebuilt every time. One thing, not 10. A spreadsheet template, a niche budget tracker, a debt payoff calculator, a resume kit, a meal planning guide, a study pack,
a Notion dashboard, a printable checklist, a set of prompts, a mini course, a stock footage pack, a design preset, a short guide that solves a narrow, expensive problem. The secret is not creativity, it's specificity. You are not building a masterpiece, you are building usefulness. Ask one question. What problem do people repeatedly have that I can package one time? That one question can change your finances, because now you are no longer limited to the return on your existing capital. You are creating a new asset class from your knowledge, your taste, your organization, or your experience. This is where a lot of so-called passive income advice becomes dishonest. People love to say, sell a digital product, but they skip the part that actually makes it work. A digital product is not passive because it is digital. It becomes passive-ish because the creation happens once, the delivery is automated, and the sales process can continue without your live involvement every single time. That means the product itself is only half the machine. The other half is distribution. And that brings us to Layer 5, days 121 through 150. Distribution is where your passive income project either becomes real or dies quietly. You can build the best tiny product in your niche, but if nobody sees it, it is not an asset. It is a hidden file on your laptop. So now your mission is to create one simple traffic path, one platform, one audience, one problem, one call to action. That might be short-form videos explaining one financial mistake your template helps solve. It might be a simple newsletter about surviving inflation and saving smarter. It might be Pinterest posts leading to a printable. It might be a searchable blog post aimed at a specific question people are already typing. It might be tutorials that demonstrate the result your product creates. What matters is not the platform. What matters is the link between pain and solution. If your product saves people time, your content should show the time being wasted without it. If your product reduces stress, your content should show the stress before the solution. If your product makes money, your content should show the leak, the friction, the confusion, and then the cleaner path. This is how faceless businesses are built. Not with random posting, with engineered relevance. And here is the mindset shift that separates adults from amateurs. Stop asking, what do I want to make? Start asking, what do people already need help deciding, fixing, tracking, organizing, or avoiding? Money usually flows toward solved tension. So for days 121 through 150, create content that points to your asset. Not content for vanity, not content for applause, content that makes a problem feel visible and a solution feel obvious. And keep the funnel embarrassingly simple. A post, a landing page, an offer, an automated delivery, a follow-up email. Done. Do not build a cathedral when you need a doorway. Then comes Layer 6, days 151 through 180. This is where the machine gets smarter. By now, you should know what people actually respond to. What content got clicks? What topic kept attention? What offer converted? What price made sense? What nobody cared about? And this is where disciplined people pull away from dreamers. Because dreamers keep adding. Disciplined builders start removing. You cut what doesn't work. You simplify what confuses buyers. You retitle the offer if the promise is weak. You improve the first line of the landing page. You collect simple feedback. You turn one product into a bundle if buyers want the next step. You create version 2 instead of starting over from 0. You automate support questions with a clean FAQ. You schedule content instead of winging it. You use templates, systems, and calendar blocks so the asset no longer depends on your daily emotional state. This is the real birth of passive income. Not when money first appears, when the process becomes repeatable. Because repeatability is freedom. And let me say something important here. You do not need 6 income streams in 180 days. That advice destroys beginners. What you need is 1 working stream plus 1 stable capital habit behind it. 1. Just 1. 1 stream that proves the machine can work. 1 stream that gives you data. 1 stream that can be improved. 1 stream that can be duplicated later. Trying to build 6 before you build 1 is how people stay broke while looking busy. Now let's talk about the mistakes that sabotage this whole process. The first mistake is chasing aesthetics over economics.
People love the idea of rental income, storefronts, Airbnb empires, and glamorous owner identities. But if you are starting from scratch, the best passive income asset is usually not the one that looks richest on camera. It's the one with the lowest startup friction, the lowest maintenance burden, and the highest chance of surviving beginner mistakes. The second mistake is mistaking side hustle income for passive income. If you drive, freelance, consult, deliver, edit, design, tutor, or flip items for cash, that can be smart. It can absolutely help fund the machine. But if the money stops the second you stop working, that is not passive income yet. It is active income funding passive income. Know the difference. The difference matters. The third mistake is overestimating how much money you need and underestimating how much proof you need. Most people think, I'll start once I have more capital. But what they really need is not more money first. They need more evidence that their system works. If you can create $10 without clocking in, that matters. If you can make $50 from a tiny digital asset while you sleep, that matters. If your savings generate even a small amount of interest on autopilot, that matters. Why? Because proof scales better than hope. The fourth mistake is refusing to reinvest. This one is huge. The first dollars of passive income should not be treated like celebration money. They should be treated like employees. Their job is to go hire more income. That means interest gets left to compound. Product income gets split between reinvestment, reserves, and expansion. A portion funds better tools, better traffic, better assets, better systems. The early phase is not about extraction. It's about acceleration. Now, if you're wondering what this can actually look like in real life, imagine 2 different people over the same 180 days. Person 1 keeps consuming passive income content, but never commits. They research, they compare, they watch videos on REITs, dropshipping, dividend ETFs, digital products, rental hacks, and AI tools. They feel productive, but they build nothing.
6 months later, their main income is still their only income. Person 2 picks one simple plan. They cut leaks. They build a cash buffer. They automate saving. They buy a little ownership every month. They create one useful tiny product tied to a real problem. They publish content that points to it. They improve what gets traction. 6 months later, they may not be rich, but they are no longer starting from zero. That difference is enormous, because zero is not just a number. Zero is a position of vulnerability. Any positive system changes your bargaining power with life. And here's the strongest insight of all. Passive income is not really about being passive. It is about reducing fragility. That's the deeper reason people want it. They think they want freedom, and they do. But before freedom, what they really want is relief. Relief from the feeling that one boss, one layoff, one illness, one recession, one bad month can wreck everything. Passive income is a security technology. It gives your life a second engine. And the order matters more than most people realize. First, protect cash flow. Then automate savings. Then own productive assets. Then build a repeatable asset from skill. Then build distribution. Then reinvest until the machine becomes harder to shut off than to maintain. That is how you build passive income from scratch. Not by pretending you're already rich, by acting like a builder. So if I had to reduce this entire video to one rule, it would be this. For the next 180 days, every extra dollar and every extra hour must be assigned to one of 4 jobs. Protect, automate, own, or distribute. Protect your cash flow. Automate your saving. Own assets that can pay you. Distribute something useful that can sell more than once. If a dollar or an hour does none of those 4 things, be suspicious of it. That one filter will clean up your financial life faster than most people expect. Because building passive income is not about doing more, it's about directing more. And once you direct enough small moves in the same direction, something incredible happens. Your income stops acting like a single wire. It starts acting like a network. That is when fear begins to lose its grip. That is when you stop feeling trapped by every job decision. That is when an emergency still hurts, but doesn't own you. That is when money becomes quieter, more stable, more obedient, more yours. So if you're serious, don't just finish this video and feel inspired for 10 minutes. Pick your first move today. Cancel one leak, set one transfer, open one account, build one asset, publish one piece. Make the machine real. And if you want, drop a comment with the passive income stream you would start first from zero. I read those, and they help other people see what's actually possible. And if this video gave you a clearer plan instead of the usual fantasy, subscribe. Because on this channel, we're not here to admire money. We're here to build defenses with it.